Scrolling through ghost stories online, like real people's experiences, it hits different than just watching a horror movie,
Oh, yeah.
There's just something about the rawness, the vulnerability, sharing these like deeply personal, often kind of unsettling experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. It really speaks to this like universal fascination we have with the unknown, this desire to connect with something beyond like our everyday understanding. You know what I mean?
Totally. And you've brought us a collection of Reddit posts from these brave souls willing to share their encounters with the potentially paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive in, shall we?
Let's do it.
Our mission, to see what patterns emerge from these stories and what they might reveal about human belief and our relationship with the unexplained.
I am particularly interested in the variety of experiences. We have haunted homes, childhood encounters, even attempts at like communication. It's a real smorgasbord of the paranormal.
It really is. And speaking of haunted homes, that story about the lamp in New Jersey, that one really caught my eye.
Okay.
A lamp that just constantly changes positions. You'd almost think it had a mind of its own.
It's a perfect example of how the unexplained can become almost mundane.
Right.
The poster's tone wasn't one of terror, but rather this kind of like bewildered acceptance. It's like, oh, there goes that lamp again.
It's at it again.
Exactly.
Like it's the mischievous house pet or something.
Exactly. It raises questions about the nature of these occurrences. Is it a playful spirit, an attempt to communicate, or simply an unsolved mystery that highlights the strangeness inherent in these situations?
It's like the spirit equivalent of like leaving the cabinet doors open just to mess with you a little.
Precisely. And that ambiguity, I think that's what makes these stories so compelling.
We also see this in the accounts of childhood encounters, right? That story about the glowing boy witnessed by both the child and their babysitter, that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because you have that independent verification.
Independent verification always adds a layer of intrigue, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Two people experiencing the same unexplained phenomenon, especially at such a young age, I think that suggests something beyond like mere imagination, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. You're less likely to dismiss it as just an overactive imagination when somebody else is seeing the same inexplicable thing.
Right.
And then there are the stories where people try to communicate with whatever they believe is present, like that homeowner using EVP recordings.
Yes.
So interesting.
It speaks to this deep-seated desire to understand, to bridge the gap between our world and the potential existence of another. But I find it interesting that the reactions to these encounters are so varied.
Right.
You have those who are terrified, and understandably so, but then you have others who seem to approach these experiences with almost a sense of curiosity, even acceptance.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is just how it is now.
Right, like that homeowner trying to just have a chat with their resident spirits.
Yeah, exactly.
It suggests a real spectrum of belief and perception and highlights that there's no one-size-fits-all response when confronted with the unexplained.
Speaking of varied responses, I have to hear more about this Reddit user who keeps encountering haunted dolls, dreaming about them in different Airbnbs, and then inheriting one that seems to have a nocturnal symphony planned for the entire house. That's a whole other level of creepy.
That particular story really caught my eye as well. It raises fascinating questions about the interplay of the subconscious mind and but potentially paranormal experiences, you know?
Yeah.
Like, is there a connection there?
Right. Could those recurring dreams have, like, primed them for a real-life haunting with this inherited doll? It's like their subconscious was, like, setting the stage for a paranormal encounter, you know?
It's certainly a compelling theory.
Right.
Our beliefs and expectations, they have a powerful influence on our perceptions.
Yeah.
If we're primed to expect something unusual, our minds might start interpreting like ordinary events through this paranormal lens.
Totally.
Or, and this is an or, perhaps those dreams were tapping into something real, like a kind of precognitive awareness of the doll's nature.
Ooh, interesting.
Right.
It's almost like that classic horror movie trope where, like, ignoring the warnings just makes things worse.
Right.
And speaking of classic horror movie tropes, we can't forget that chilling tale of the ghostly girl spotted in the abandoned mansion on Jekyll Island.
Ah, yes. The Hollyborn house sighting.
Yeah.
What intrigues me about that particular account is the detail about the figure fading away whenever the witness's mother looked directly at it.
It's like it knew it was being watched and didn't want to be observed.
Right.
That's the kind of detail that, like, sends shivers down your spine.
Indeed. It introduces this layer of complexity. It suggests a possible, like, awareness or even intentionality on the part of the apparition.
Wow.
This detail aligns with the concept of residual hauntings.
Okay.
A theory suggesting that certain locations, they might retain traces of past events or even, like, emotions.
You mentioned residual hauntings earlier. Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure.
What exactly does that mean in the context of, like, paranormal phenomena?
So imagine a location, but it's imbued with this, like, emotional residue, like an echo of past events. These remnants of energy, often associated with, like, really intense experiences. They might manifest as apparitions, sounds, or even, like, sensations.
So you're saying that these residual hauntings are like psychic recordings?
Yeah.
Like fragments of past experiences, but like imprinted on a place.
In a way, yes.
Wow.
Imagine a place where a tragic or, like, really emotionally charged event occurred. The energy associated with that event might leave this kind of imprint, a psychic residue that continues to resonate within that space. It's as though time itself has become, like, fragmented, allowing glimpses of the past to bleed into the present.
That's both fascinating and a little unsettling.
Right.
So does that mean that the ghostly girl on Jekyll Island could be a residual haunting?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Replaying some, like, unknown event from the past.
Yeah.
It's a strong possibility. Jekyll Island, I mean, with its rich history, it's witnessed its share of joys and sorrows, right?
Oh, for sure.
These grand old mansions in particular, they've seen generations come and go, their walls absorbing the energy of countless lives lived and lost. It's not hard to imagine how such a place might become this repository for potent emotional energy, some of which might linger, long after the original events have faded into memory.
It's like these places become like unintentional museums of emotion.
Yes.
Preserving these, like, fragments of experiences in the very, like, fabric of their being.
Yes, exactly.
When you start looking at these stories as, like, more than just spooky tales, you begin to see the human element woven through every thread. The fear, the wonder, the, like, desperate need to understand.
Precisely. These accounts, I think they remind us that beneath the surface of our rational minds, there lies this deep-seated fascination with the unknown. We are drawn to these stories not only for their, like, entertainment value, but also for the glimpse they offer into the vastness of human experience. They challenge us to confront our own beliefs about life, death, and the nature of reality itself.
Yeah, it's like we're hardwired for these kinds of stories, right?
Yeah.
We crave these explanations for the unexplainable, these connections to something beyond our, like, immediate perception.
Right.
And these Reddit posts, they tap into that primal desire, I think, with a realness that's hard to find in, like, fictionalized ghost stories.
Absolutely. These are personal truths shared by the people who, like, experience them. And while we might not have, like, definitive answers about the nature of these experiences, the stories themselves, they offer valuable insights into the human psyche,
Thankfully.
They remind us of the power of suggestion, the way our minds seek patterns and meaning, even in the most, like, ambiguous of situations.
It's like that saying, right? We see what we want to see.
Right.
Or in this case, maybe we believe what we need to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Take those haunted objects, for instance.
Yeah.
The Reddit user with their, like, inherited porcelain doll. Is it truly haunted, or is it just an old, like, wind-up mechanism,
Right.
Playing tricks on a mind that's already primed to perceive the paranormal?
Precisely. We imbue objects with meaning, with history, with stories. And sometimes, those stories take on a life of their own, blurring the lines between, like, verifiable reality and what our minds, consciously or not, might be, like, superimposing.
So where does that leave us? We've delved into these stories, these encounters with the potentially, paranormal. We've explored the psychological aspects, the historical context, even, like, the cultural fascination with the unknown. But are we any closer to, like, unraveling the mystery of it all?
Perhaps the true value of these deep dives isn't about finding concrete answers.
Okay.
Instead, it's about embracing the unknown, asking more questions, recognizing the limits of, like, our current understanding. What do these experiences reveal about our beliefs, our perceptions, our place in this, like, vast and mysterious universe? That's the real question these stories invite us to consider.
It's about acknowledging that there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in our philosophies, right? To borrow a phrase from Shakespeare.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, finding a certain, like, wonder in that realization.
Exactly. It's about embracing the mystery, allowing it to, spark our curiosity and push us beyond the boundaries of our, comfort zones.
So the next time you find yourself, dismissing a strange sound in the night or a fleeting shadow in your peripheral vision, take a moment to consider the possibilities. Perhaps it's just the house settling or the wind playing tricks on you. Or maybe, just maybe, it's a whisper from that realm beyond our understanding. A gentle reminder that the world is full of wonders yet to be explored. And who knows, maybe that's a journey worth taking.